I got you. I think I got what you're trying to say.
The people who are doing it right and the people who are doing it wrong
Got
in
you.
every
Yes,
group.
yes, for sure.
That's the thing. I was like, her show is like, it's, speaking on petty, like when I watched that show, I was like so jealous.
Donald, no.
I was like,
I'm jealous of you every day.
but that's what I'm saying in a good way. That's how I knew it was good. Anytime I'm like, sometimes I watch something that's like good, but I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. That's not. I'm like watching. I'm like, I was so jealous because I was like, this is a good show, and it's hard to do that on network television.
Very hard.
That's what I'm saying. That's hard to do. Doing it on a big stage like that and not pulling punches and understanding yourself enough to get it through. That's really hard.
Okay, so this one I kind of talked to you about the other day, but Janine's boyfriend,
Tariq.
Tariq, thank you, because I could not remember his name. I like how his character is handled. So he is clearly bad for Janine. He is the bad love interest that we've seen in a lot of different shows where you clearly see, oh, that's not going to work out. Like in Parks and Rec with Andy at the very beginning with Andy and forgot her name, but you know what I'm talking about.
And
Anne. And so, but what I like about Tariq is most shows when they want to show someone's bad for someone, they hit every check mark of bad, toxic, um, traits. And that's not necessary. A lot of times we can be with someone that's toxic for us and they just have one thing about them that's toxic. A lot of times with the relationships, when you're with someone toxic, it only takes one toxic trait for it to be a bad relationship or not good for you. And a lot of times in television and media, again, we see just, oh, you're hitting every check mark. And that's not really reality. Don't get me wrong, there are some people who will find that person. I've been there
I have
before,
all the red flags.
all the red flags. But we, more commonly, we come across someone that just has one red flag. And that, to be honest, is enough. Sometimes it's something that if you see they're mature and they can change it, okay. But if you got to change it for them, that's not good. And Tariq represented that. He wasn't just an aspiring artist who wasn't getting anywhere, who was lazy in his dreams and stuff. He was very ambitious and he was going for his dreams. Matter of fact, when we last see him, he's succeeding in his dreams. About to go around, I guess, America and kind of have a little tour,
Dare.
with the Dare. He's doing his thing. I think it was called something else, right? It was a playoff of Dare. It was a playoff of Dare to do drugs. It was something else, but
Let's just
whatever.
say
It's the
Dare.
same thing, yeah. But he's doing his own thing, so we're seeing that he's someone. Yes, he's an artist, and there's no wrong with being an artist. He's handling his business and stuff like that. But he is a child. He cannot take care of responsibility. I say handle his business. He's handling his business with his ambitions. But when it comes to just at home, he's a child. That's bad for Janine. She's having to take care of him. He doesn't take bills responsibly, like take care of them or even think about them. He don't want to think about that or talk about it because it's too early in the morning and stuff like that. Just adult stuff that people got to take care of. And we've had issues where I didn't want to talk about a bill or something like that, but okay, well, we're gonna talk about it. You've been, in a situation, but the way they wrote it, you could tell this is somebody that never wants to talk about,
Keeps putting it on.
yes, procrastinates and never wants to take care of what he needs to do. Um, that was his main thing. He's a man child in that type of manner. And that was enough right there because it's holding back Janine, who is the complete opposite. But because of how long they've been in a relationship, she got used to basically kind of being mama to him and just trying to pick up the slack where he doesn't and things like that. And I just like that. It wasn't that he was okay. So if we look at Pam's first boyfriend, Roy, thank you, from The Office again. Um, I'm assuming probably everyone has seen The Office, but still, if we look at Pam's boyfriend, he hit a lot of red flags from being, or fiance, yes, from being abusive, verbally to just being very bossy and arrogant to ignoring her feelings emotionally and not having an emotional connection there to being kind of a
Talking to
man.
Jim like, yeah, I'm glad she has someone to get all of her feelings out with.
Yeah,
Basically.
kind of being a pig when it came to how he talked about other women and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, where's the blonde one? Yeah, I'd do her, something like
If I
that.
wasn't dating
If I
Pam,
wasn't dating Pam, right next to her and stuff.
she's like, we're engaged.
Hey, heard there's a rumor going around about, you used to have a crush on Pam. And,
Oh, no,
no, no,
no.
no, it's cool because I know you're a good guy and I know that crush ended a long time ago. So, we're cool, right?
Yeah. Nope. Yeah, definitely.
It's great with me because glad she has a friend at work she can get through the day with.
Oh.
And she's not all bop, 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 when she gets home.
Yeah, I like talking to her too.
So,
dreams are just that. They're dreams. They help get you through the day. Like the thing about the terrace, it's nice.
So you're not doing it.
How did you know?
Why not?
Just like no big reason, just a bunch of little reasons.
Come on.
Roy's right, there's no guarantee it's gonna lead to anything anyway.
Roy said that.
No, I am listening. That's the problem. I'm listening.
Don't yell.
Don't yell?
This is over.
Yeah, you're right. This is so over. You kidding me, Pam? Come on! Come on! Jet ski!
He was just all the tropes. So of course you're like, oh, for sure he's
He
bad.
had all the red flags, and
But-
they were a high school relationship too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But see, and I do like that because a lot of people have been in relationships for a while who it's not going to work out. There are relationships that can work out for years and years or have been together since high school or started dating in high school.
All right, so I'll go. This mystery person says, I've been dating my boyfriend since 8th grade. Oh, I wonder who this could be.
Wait, like off and on?
Well, who says it's me, but no, just on.
The whole time?
Yeah.
But you've dated lots of other people.
Nope. Why are you all looking at me like that?
Janine, sweetheart, you have only dated one man your entire life.
Yeah.
No women? Nobody else
That
ever?
just answers so many things, I mean.
Somebody give me a chair.
You know what? He is a good guy and I love him.
But how do you
Have
know
ever
if this has
worried-
only been the
wondered,
one
like,
guy?
what-
I mean,
who
you've
else
only
is
been
out there? You need to grow up.
the whole time one guy.
I think both of those situations, it was just like the men in the situation didn't grow.
Yes.
They didn't
Yeah.
like have any experience or any reason to. They were comfortable where they were, and they didn't feel like they needed to mature anymore.
And trying to better themselves, especially for the other person.
Like
That's
they-
why it's good in relationships to have that open honesty and say, hey, this type of thing isn't working
And even
anymore.
Roy
'Cause
having
now-
a stable job, he still was just like not the things he needed to be.
Yep, he had no ambition and stuff. Jim had ambition. I think that worked out for them as well. Like not only was he emotional, connected to her and all those other things, but he also had ambition and things he wanted to do.
Yeah,
he
he
wanted to do,
supported
and he
her.
supported her
Yes.
ambitions too.
Because I know Janine supports Tariq in all of his stuff, but it's just like, well, Tariq, are you re-supporting Janine? I know that she's a teacher. She has what she wants to do, which is help kids, but
Mhm.
when she's going to school and she has her lunch, you eating half her sandwich doesn't really show that you support her because she can't go get
And he
lunch.
probably support her verbally, unlike Roy and how he didn't want Pam to even go to art school and stuff. He probably supports her verbally, but again, I think it's that man-childness of I don't even think he's caring. I think he's very selfish
And not thinking
and just
about-
stuck on. Yeah, I think that's what kind of plays into that man-child kind of thinking is you worried about your ambitions, but you're not worried about bills. You're not worried about your spouse or your fiance or whatever, and you're just worried about yourself. That's where you kind of you could tell there's that lack of growth because you haven't learned to live with someone else. Um, but yeah, see, that's what I think is so unique about how she wrote the character. Whoever wrote that character,
It's still crazy because
it makes
80-20? Why are you paying 80% of the rent? I get that he's looking for ambition.
when you
but
said 80-20, I thought you was about to bring in Tyler Perry.
no,
I forgot he literally was.
He was paying 20% of her rent. I was
That's
like,
right.
20%.
Yeah, nah, that's sad.
60-40, something but a little better.
Something. But see, that's where she needed that growth. And her being able to pull away from that is going to allow, she had a little rough spot, whatever, a little rough time, but that's going to allow her to boost up. And that's what I think is so unique about writing that character because they could have went with the common trope, oh, he meets all the bad. But then the audience is like, man, if you don't leave this idiot, this makes it like you're still like, leave the idiot, but you see why. Because you're like, okay, at least, he has these different dreams and she likes that about him.
I need y'all to pay close attention, Abbott Elementary. What if this little stage manager shorty died from drugs right now? That'd be pretty messed up, wouldn't it?
He's known her for blah, blah, blah. He doesn't seem like an emotional a-hole about things, unconnected. He's not the Roy or the Andy who's just uneducated, jobless, and a complete man-child, 100%. He's just immature. So it's like, it's still a big red flag for being in a relationship. You got to get that fixed before you get into a relationship and living with someone. But it gives a different flavor to it all versus just making a character so hateful, or not hateful, so hated basically because they're just so bad. That's too easy. Yeah, let's make it a little bit more interesting. Let's do something that's more relatable. I think in the real world is that you can sometimes be blinded by love because not everything is right there in your face. And Tariq probably does have even more issues, but not everything is right there in your face, you know. And that's yeah.
Yeah, and when, like she said, sometimes it's good to have a reminder that you made the right decision for him to want to have dinner with her, and then go outside and call his girlfriend and be like, "Oh yeah, dinner with my ex didn't go through. This is
Yeah,
the
I
second girl
guess.
I've ever been with. No, the third girl I've ever been with. Might as well be the fourth with all the stuff that we do. Like, we don't want to know that."
Yeah, yeah, that's when it was definitely showing that. I think that was like the last kick. Like, all right, just so the audience knows, he's
She
out of
made
the
the right
picture. She
choice.
made the right choice for sure. This was not the route to go.
And at least she gets that time alone to herself and realizing that she needs to like up her confidence, up her game, up her
Hmm.
like I guess responsibility, even if she was responsible already, just being responsible of her comfort and herself. So that way when she does get with somebody like Gregory, because that's who I'm pushing for,
Hmm.
she's good.
Yeah, see, when it
And
comes
he's getting
to
his confidence too. So it's like they're perfectly like growing in their own little ways and
yeah,
and they better get together.
I'm sure they are because a lot of shows they do that. They tease the relationship and what everyone wants, but then they kind of drag it out a little bit.
Yeah, because if they were
But
together
it's
now, it would be
also
bad.
yeah, it
She
would.
just came out of a breakup. He's learning how to be confident with his dad and himself,
Hmm.
and whether he, um, whether he can be with another person. Like I don't know what the issue was with Amber, but that just completely ended. I mean Taylor.
Taylor,
With
yeah,
Taylor, that one episode of trying to avoid Barbara, and then they don't talk about her no more. It's
yeah.
like what happened?
Because he's still someone that tries to deal with awkwardness and is not good at dealing with it. He doesn't like awkwardness, except for if it's coming from Janine. He sees Janine, he'll have a soft
Oh,
spot
he
for her
jumps for that
awkward, quirky
awkwardness.
attitude and stuff like that. Yeah,
But first he was like, Janine, like I'm a temporary teacher. I don't care about the walls of the classroom.
yeah. And see, that's something else I was about to say. He's still getting used to the job entirely. I think you basically were saying that, but yeah, not only is him getting used to his confidence and stuff, but just
Hmm.
getting used to that job. So yeah,
And
you
they,
do.
and fully accepting it because remember he went in there and told Ava that he wanted to be a
Yeah.
permanent teacher.
Hmm.
And she was just like, this job is a lot of responsibility. It's gonna be really emotional and all that
Yeah.
other stuff. And he was just like, yeah.
He said, "I'm looking forward to HR department."
That cracked me up so bad just for her to be like, what's HR?
What do you do here?
I'm the principal.
But you don't do anything.
Yeah, and then it's just another, candle that tops the cake of just how bad she is in a workplace. She don't even know what HR is. Like she's never had a job before. Okay. And finally, we're gonna talk about Greg. Greg has many layers. Onions have layers, ogres have layers. Greg has layers. We don't see too much from Greg's character, but right when you're about to make a decision that he's just this one-dimensional thing or person, we see yet another layer be unfolded from him. Whereas what we was just talking about, how he hates awkward situations, but yet Janine, he has a soft spot for.
Mm-hmm. He'll deal
Um,
with those awkward situations because he like her.
or how he kind of seems distant towards the kids and dry, but then he starts getting a soft spot towards them, even with the pictures and stuff and looking at them, and
Mm-hmm.
you could tell, yeah, he was like, okay, he was loving that.
And the fact that she was able to translate every single one of his pictures really shocked him. He was just like, "How do you see? How do you know that's what that is?"
Yep, and even down to his love for gardening shows just another layer to him. Not even getting to his dad, which we're going to get to in a second,
Right, but
but his love for gardening
just
alone. There's just
period.
another layer, and
Mm-hmm.
his love and hate relationship with it, because he thought he hated it, but then he does it so much, and then later he comes to the conclusion, yeah, I thought I hated it, but yeah, you could tell he actually has a
I
passion
like
for it.
it, but I like doing it here.
Yeah, also even that for a moment, I think that's something a lot of people could relate to too. Um, when I was growing up, being surrounded by my grandmother who's English major, and my mom who is a writer and an author, and everyone was very strict on me writing correctly, speaking correctly, and I've always loved storytelling. But for the longest, writing started to get annoying to me, especially at school. School setting where they didn't really encourage you for too many fictional things, but it was these biographies or note taking on biographies and all of that. Just writing in general became annoying to me. if especially when we're writing about ourselves, and I couldn't just create this story, but yet at first it was kind of like this thing of where I thought I didn't like it at all. But it's really because it was that burning passion inside that I wanted to do it just my way. Like Greg wanted to do it gardening his way without the worries of his dad negating the things he were doing and things like that. He had a comfort zone teaching it to the children, or how we see at the very end of that last episode with him teaching it to the children, going behind Barbara and Jacob. You know, it's something that I think we
When
can
she
relate
found
to.
out, she was so hurt.
Yeah, she was just like this whole time.
All of the different nicknames, I wish I could remember them, but the insults she threw at him that were flower related.
We'll probably rewatch it today because that was hilarious. That whole eye-opening
And
scene
Jacob
for
was just
them.
like, give him another one. And she
Yeah, that's right.
came out with another one.
Dad?
Gregory, why would you sow secretly? Why would you prune privately? Why would you cull clandestinely, hidden hoeing and whatnot?
Are you done?
Barbara, hit him one more time.
Why would you be tight-lipped about tilling?
But yeah, you know, again, most TV will stick with the cookie cutter, bad relationship, bad dad thing, or a bad relationship with your dad. And this is the part about Gregory that I really like. His relationship with his dad is not bad. It's just it's more complicated. And I think actually a lot of men can relate to this with their dad. Maybe a lot of women with their mothers too, where you have that where the dad never the bad common trope thing with a bad relationship with your dad or parent is that the dad or the mom never gives you props for anything, never gives you credit, just always bad mouthing you and always putting you down,
Even if
never
you're
gives
doing it right.
approval, even if you're doing it right. Well, in reality, yes, there are definitely fathers like that, there are definitely mothers like that, but a lot of what I've seen personally amongst friends, even with myself, is my dad would give me approval, give me my props when I did something right, but he would still challenge me in annoying ways. It felt like he'll give me my, like, okay, that's pretty good, but you could do this and this, give me things to think of so that I can better myself. When you're a kid, that becomes annoying. You're just like, oh my gosh, get off my back about this. I just want the approval. When in reality, there's some people, like I just said, who don't get the approval at all. Um,
They just
but
get the hardship part of it.
yes, and there are parents who know how to balance that. Like I said, my dad did it. He would give me my props. He would give me my, thumbs up and things like that. But he would still challenge me, and I appreciate that because now as a grown man, when I have my own ideals, dreams or ambitions, I'm strong about them. I'm passionate about them. But it's also because of a lot of how he challenged my thinking on it. I had that balance of my mom. Um, Always giving me the approval too, but she would also be real and tell me if something just wasn't working as well. But she still wanted to make sure I never felt like I couldn't do it. So she always was pushing me through and motivating me. And my dad would give me the approval, but his main focus was making sure that I knew I could do it in a sense of not really motivation, but by the time he hadn't challenged my mind with every yay, nay, but, or how about this? Have you thought about this type thinking? Um, it built a confidence in me where I'm just like, okay, I've had to go against my dad on this. So I for sure can go against anyone else. Even when for the longest I wanted to be a scientist who wanted to prove God's existence with science, because I always hear either people who are science who love science say, science proves God is real, or vice versa. People who love God say God, this proof of God proves that science and things like that are lies. I'm like, there's a balance to it. I love God and I love science, so I'm going to prove out there that science and God are really a part of this same thing. God created science, and a lot of the things we see we might not understand fully, but it's all falling under His grand plan. That was my dreams for the longest, and my dad definitely approved. But what he would do is he'd hit me with these annoying questions. I'm like, okay, so what happens if someone asks you such and such? What happens when they ask you about this and that? How are you going to respond? And then when I'm thinking like, crap, I don't know how to respond to that, he was like, see, you need to be thinking about this because the world is going to hit you with that.
Right, but that was done in a better way, so like that helped you grow.
Yes.
I feel like the way that Gregory got it, it was just like he explained, if he did something gardening wise with the lawn or with whatever they were working on, his dad would be like,
That was wrong, but
that's
then do the
wrong, and
exact
then
same thing.
undo it and redo the exact same thing. Yeah, that
Yes,
doesn't help
but
anybody grow.
I think, okay, I beg to differ. Personally, how I took Greg's is that actually it was very relatable. So it's a different situation. My dad was directly challenging me, but here's why I think Greg's dad was a little bit different. Is that I think he was doing that to make him grow. Because if you're doing the exact same thing, had we seen that character continue with Greg older, then I would think, okay, his dad just has an issue. That's a flaw within his character. Basically, no one can do it right, just me. but instead he's recognizing as an adult all the things that Greg are doing that are correct, that are right or that are skillful, and things that, like he said, you took my thing and did it even better. So that lets me know,
He
to
has a
me, that your
writer.
whole plan was, yes, because as a kid, some parents believe that if you give too much approval to your kid, they begin to think that they're better than they really are. Um, and I think that happens in a lot of different situations.
I
There are
get
people who
that.
talk about that in the writing community, that you want to find friends that are gonna motivate you, but are gonna tell you, how it is. Hey, this ain't really working, because then you will think you're better than you really are, and then you get out there in the real world, they're gonna wake you up to how crappy your writing may be.
I know. I still think it's weird though because it's just like, yeah, if that is his way of challenging his son, okay, but it's still weird. Like
It is.
he's a
I'm
grown,
not saying it's definitely the
and
route
then
to go
now
with,
like
but
he's a
yeah.
grown man and he's working as a substitute teacher and then a permanent teacher, but he
Mhm.
wants to be a principal. And for you to constantly make jabs at his job, saying, when are you gonna come to a real man's job? Or when are you gonna give up that little dream that you've had since you left college? Like
Yeah,
obviously it's something he wants to
I
do.
did forget about that part.
When are you gonna get
And that's
over
why
it?
I did forget about that part. But I think, that is a relatable thing, because we have a lot of different parents out there that they have this one expectation for their child. And so when they go a different route, then it's kind of this like, oh, that's not, it does show the lack of approval, if you will. So he does still have that. I've forgotten about that part, and I was more focused on the latest episode where we see him truly approving Greg as he goes and sees his son. And I like that because, again,
He got that black boy joy.
uh,
I could have sworn I saw the plants getting protected from frost using cut 2-liter bottles. The classic Eddie family method, except someone improved slightly on the design.
You say improved?
Gregory, have you been secretly tending to the garden?
Yes.
For how long?
The entire time.
But I planted the daffodils.
You did. Just wrong. They were crowding each other out, so I had to replant them.
Look at you showing a little initiative.
Well, what about the collard greens I planted?
That was spinach, which is not an easy mistake to make.
Not tolerating incompetence. I like that.
Thank you, Dad.
Gregory.
I like that because, again, a lot of shows, they just show the constant toxic bad dad and son relationship where the dad doesn't grow. So at least we see the dad's growth very quickly, which made that's why I went back and thought, okay, then the things his dad was doing or saying from him as a child was just to make him stronger in it. Because when he saw his son's confidence, all that went out the window. To me, it looked like all that went out the window of the kind of nagging and bad mouthing, even what you just brought up with the job thing. He went there and saw his kid's confident, his son's confident in the job, confidence in the job, and he wasn't worried about it anymore. He wasn't bad. He was bad mouthing the rest of the teachers, really, or saying little smart remarks to them, but he really wasn't worried about what his son was doing because his son seems pretty confident in what he's doing. And so to me, that's where it gets relatable. Again, I didn't have that exact experience at all. My dad was definitely nicer than Greg's dad when it came to that, and way more supportive. But there's been times when my dad is kind of,
That actor was stuck in that drumline phase. He was
uh-huh.
like,
Oh, that's where he was.
yeah.
What's
It's like
funny is
someone.
he's the same one who played in Everybody Hates Chris as the dad of the girl Chris is trying to get with,
Oh
and
yeah,
he
but
gives
he
the
was in
Bill
the Bill
Cosby,
Cosby. Yes.
impersonation. But yeah, so
That's cool that they're still working together.
I'm sure there was some jokes behind
I
the
forgot
scenes. There
about
had to
that.
been.
That's cool.
But yeah, see, again, like I like how, yeah, that's what I was saying. A lot of like yes and stuff. um, But I like that. So, like I said, even with my dad, there's times where he'll nag me. Even to this day, he might, play around, kind of nag me. But he always says, ultimately, son, what you do with your life, don't let anyone else tell you. Your life is your life. You're a grown man, and he supports a lot of the things I do. Everything, every dream I have, he supports, and that's where I saw at the end of that episode. So maybe his dad was a little more flawed than I was giving him credit. To at the beginning, but
Hmm.
still I see the growth in it, and that's what I like. That's so different. We didn't have to wait 5 seasons in, or like in your show, one day at a time. How's was it Spencer? What was their friend's name? Spence or something like that. The his relationship with his dad does not grow.
Oh.
it kind of gets worse. He stands up to his dad, so he has character growth.
But
But
then
then
even if
it's
he
it's
has
basically done.
issues,
And
still
unfortunately,
going
there are a
on.
lot of parent child relationships like that that do the opposite of growth at all. Maybe the kid will learn, or the now adult will learn to have to be able to stand up and speak for themselves, but their relationship is kind of crushed.
But what's better in this aspect is that one, the relationship didn't crush. It didn't seem like it
Mhm.
got crushed. We obviously don't know.
Yeah,
We haven't seen another conversation with them,
I
but
think it got better. I think because
um,
you don't see any type of relation. If it's not written like that, then I'm left to assume the last kind of atmosphere we were left with is
mhm.
that he was approving. He was just trying to get him to join him in his work. I'm sorry,
And
work.
it's not like the situation with Spence because even when he did confront his dad, that situation, that relationship was bad. It
Oh
turned
yeah,
even worse than it already was, and on top of that, he went downhill because he didn't like having to do that.
yep. And see, that's why I guess I like both because on that aspect, you also see because a lot of shows, even with One Day at a Time, a lot of shows will show the kid or the adult now standing up to the parent, but then they have this newfound confidence and they're the best thing, they're better than before. Whereas we see two sides. Yes, he has that confidence, but it tore him up. I think that's more reality because when you got to
Hmm.
stand up to someone that is like a hero to you, whether for good or for worse, that's your parent, so you love them. You got to stand up to them like that. It doesn't make you feel good.
Especially when they don't take the
And I
word.
really like
They
how
don't.
that,
It doesn't like reality don't hit them. They
yeah.
just stay stubborn and keep going.
No, this ain't the One Day at a Time video. It's the Abbott Elementary video. I know you could do a whole series on One Day at a Time, huh? Maybe we'll do that, and maybe I'll get the show back up. Yeah. So one more thing that I like about that is the fact of going on representation. People want to talk about representation, but the only representation I care about is just proper, showing the other side of the coin. We see a lot of black father and son relationships depicted on media as very, very negative. This one had a negative tone to it, but it got positive. And even the negative tone could be argued that, oh, it's just to get him better or not. Um, Even that leaves more of a question than, oh, he just don't have a relationship with his dad, or his dad is not in the picture, or his dad is a butthole to him on every single thing that he does.
And I love that
Whereas
they have
there's
that.
growth there, there's a
Yeah.
father son connection there, and that's very important. So again, love that because that's what I was around. Not to say that's not reality, but I'm just tired of seeing it only with. Uh, I'm just tired of seeing it only with black families. Well, there's another side to that. There's a lot of strong, really good
Yeah, I was
bonds
gonna
between
say
fathers
I'm
and
glad
sons in our
that
community.
they were depicted as very strong men,
Hmm.
even though they had their issues that weren't like seeing eye to eye on stuff. They were still both strong, still both have careers, still doing what they got to do.
Yep, yep, yep. So to me, again, that's just another flavor or another layer of how Quinta has her uniqueness with this show and how she created this world that we're watching. It's completely different than the
Hmm.
common tropes. I think it made the success of the film. Yes, they're acting. Yes, the comedy, but the writing and how it pulls you in with the different types of characters, the world surrounding, just top notch. So definitely congratulations to them.
They
Thank y'all for
deserve those
watching.
Golden Globes.
For real, definitely. Thank y'all for watching this breakdown, this plot venture, as you I guess we could call it, and can't wait to do more. So
Bye.
bye.
I found someone to teach the gifted program.
Why are you breathing so hard?
I'm excited.
Well, it's weird. You should get that checked out.
Okay. Okay, guys, so I know we're all on board with the gifted program.
There you go, sounding like an old locomotive.
Honey, you've got to walk at a normal pace.